Hello. Nice car selfie.
Honey, 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 honey.
Here's some of the tools that you may need. A jack, axle stands and another jack just in case the first one fails, a socket set and a torque wrench, bearing pulling kit, a hub pulling kit, some other randoms, sexy lube, fetish grease and some shower cream. Something to clean up the mess. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't have no blue roll. I forgot to steal some from work, because every normal person has blue roll at home. Something to kneel on, something for extra leverage, new bearing and hub combined wheel with a new hub nut because they stretch. It's to replace the original one. What else do I need? It's early in the morning, I haven't had a shower yet. I'm trying to be quick and it's a bit fresh with that moist morning air. I'm hoping to get this done sooner than later. Yes, it's a quick job, yes, it's a simple job, but it's only quick and simple as far as how seized this bearing's going to be in the hub. Now, I'm assuming, because I don't know, that this is the original bearing that's been on the car since it was made. It was registered in 2008, so it could be late 2007 built, and or could have been waiting, or it could have been straight out of the factory, straight onto the registry system, but who knows. So we're looking late 2007, 2008. It's 2008 registered, so if that's the original bearing, it's going to be dang stuck. Oh, why do I do these things? Of course, it's the wheel removal tool and the locking nut key. Now I've got a special condition. I need to start off by loosening the hub nut while the wheel is on the ground. That stops the wheel turning as I'm trying to undo the nut, because if I'm turning it and it's off the ground, the wheel will turn and I won't get nowhere. So what I need to do is remove the wheel, push out the center cap, because I don't want to damage these by forcing a screwdriver in. These are nicely finished decal badges, and all I have to do is remove the wheel, push out the cap, put the wheel back on, just lower it enough till it grips, and then do the nut in the middle of it, the hub nut. Then I can take the wheel off properly. So let's start by jacking the car up and getting the wheel off. come to realise that it's not just the wheel bearing that's faulty now. Driving on a bad wheel bearing is bad for the whole suspension and braking system, and can affect the drive shaft. Prolonged exposure, of course, and could wreck quite a lot of your traction and everything else. Aside from getting the traction all off and putting a bit of extra strain on the hub, what it does is the weight of the car kind of pushes down on the broken bearing, and because the bearing isn't being as supportive as it usually is, it kind of bows everything out slightly. You might not notice this, like, you obviously know the bearing's buggered, but over time, as it bows and pushes against the brake caliper or the brake disc, and then that pushes against the caliper, which although is all tightly sealed and that, the weight of the car is a lot more than the foot-pounds of torque you put on all these nuts and bolts. So essentially, where you would do it up tight enough to hold everything together perfectly for normal driving, because the bearing has collapsed inside the housing that it sits in, it kind of weakens everything and pulls everything out. And what's happened here is pushed my brake disc up against the side of the caliper mount and is ruining what would have been quite a good thick brake pad. I'm going to give these a clean and try and smooth that out, but it's definitely something that needs sorting out. I mean, they're stuck. They shouldn't even be stuck. They should be loose, because I've taken the caliper off. But knowing that they're stuck just means that they need to be took out, put a bit of copper grease on, and see if they're still good enough. I mean, I'm not too worried. I've still got quite a lot of surface and thickness that'll rub down eventually. So as long as when everything's back together it goes on straight, it should be okay. These are in need of a serious clean. I would like to repaint them because I think they look nice in red, but we will see. That's not the priority. The priority is getting the car roadworthy again. So let's crack on with the job at hand, which is to remove this hub from the hub housing, which, as you can see, is really badly rusted. And if we look at the back, you can see it's not too good here either. Got to be careful not to knock that little square piece, which is the ABS sensor, and I can not really hear it while it's on the ground here, but when I'm driving it is bad. It sounds like an airplane engine when you're sitting above the airplane engine, which on an airplane is a lovely sound. So I'm going to clean it all up, get in there some WD-40, and then I'll get the manual pulling tool on it. So with a bit of persistence and a bit of genius, I'll have to explain more in detail later because battery's going, but you might be able to see it, you might not. It's starting to break free. As you can see, there's a lip now right here, so I'm gonna do as much as I can using the old wheel nuts or bolts, wheel bolts, and we'll in the meantime charge the battery so that you can see how it finishes. See you in a minute. And it's out. It was really rusted up, as you can see. It was in there, and the last bit of it where you get to bang it with a hammer and it drops to the floor, you can see it's quite heavy, is such an amazing feeling. So the next thing to do now is to clean up all of this area, make sure it's nice and pretty, and stick in our new one, which is in the box by the door where I left it, naturally. So just for now, for this bit, I'm going to spray it with some brake cleaner. Give it a bit of white brown. I've been told to be very careful with your fingers because all these little bits could come across as a bit sharp and cut your fingers, and we don't want to cut any fingers today. I'm going to use a bit of special, I say special, it's just standard, a bit of wet and dry paper with the brake cleaner, because it's making the speed sensor very good, but not very good, making it nice and clean. But yeah, I don't want to go mad on this because I want to keep the surface that I'm working on to be nice for the new one. There we go. I'll even get another bit for the metal the other side and on the front. Wow, what a difference. It's like a new aluminum hub. And as I say, I've been told to be careful, but to make sure this surface is nice and smooth and no rust particles as best we can, or dust is in there. I've been told to put a bit of like a lube kind, like a bit of grease on the new one, but in all honesty, don't really want to do that because this is all that holds it on the car, is how tight it fits in. So what I may do is put a very, very gentle amount of copper grease around it, because apart from some butter in the fridge, I'm kind of out of options and I haven't got another day to wait for Amazon Prime. Without further ado, I'm just going to put the very tiniest amount of copper grease around the new one just to help me get it in, and then once it's in there nice and snug, we will start putting the car back together and being happy with what we've just done. So yeah, using the correct tools you can pull it out. It was a bit of a nightmare for me. I ordered the wrong toolkit at first, then the replacement one was the wrong size. I'm thinking I've spent 100 quid on tools just to do this job, and because I had already started using them thinking that I knew everything and that they were the right tool for the right job, thanks Scotty, it was too late to send them back now because they're actually they're marred and damaged in a sense. So I'll keep them. They might come in handy for something else, and in the meantime, thanks man. I'm not a mechanic, I don't claim to be. If you ruin your car, that's nothing to do with me, but together we can find ways around it, we can find ways to deal with it like that. There's people out there like myself who are not after your money, who just want to help. My problem is I don't have much time in my life. Right, so there's a bit of copper grease going on there. And what I'll do is I'll wipe it off with this towel so there's not too much of that on there. There we go. Looking good. The new bearing comes with a new drive shaft nut bolt. This is because when you tighten them up to their torque level, they stretch, and if they go in and out once or twice, it might be alright, but if you do it too much, they stretch out of shape and then they're no good. Here's a new one, nice and clean. Got beautiful soft feel to it, which is a lot different to our old piece of crap that's been on the car since the build date. And I'm not going to spin it around and get more crap on my fingers than I need to. But it's a bit rough, but I can't really hear it just doing it by hand. But when the car was driving, it was bad. It was like an aeroplane taking off, you know, that constantly. And the faster you go, the louder it went. If you was turning right, you'd hear it a lot. If you was turning left, you'd hardly hear it. So that's what makes me believe that it is that. So we're going to get this new one in now, using the toolkit that I originally bought, which was for this job. So I'll right, get it all ready. What we're going to do now is put the relevant stop on that pushes that without letting it go through. That won't go through there now, that'll just push against the hub. And what we'll do is we'll wind the tool, which will push the bearing back onto the place it's supposed to go. Bloody drive shaft. But there we go. That'll go on there. And we should know when it's home, because we can see where the edge is on the where this finger is. That edge goes flush with that. I can just hang for a second. Right, we need a couple of bits. There we go, that's got a built-in bearing to protect the parts as they turn, they don't rub too much. We'll get that back through there. We'll get the bearing on. I think it's going to rain. We'll get our thing on that's going to help us stabilize it for a little bit, because the inside of that goes into the bearing. We got our I'll put that on just to make sure I've got a bit more push, and then the bearing and the nut that's gonna push it all home. No, it's that bigger one, isn't it? It's this one that's got it thread all the way through. We'll go for that one, and when the time comes we can put that on to give us a bit more push. So using the same technique I did where I wedged a really strong ratchet down there with an extension bar against a bit of brick that pushes against the floor, I'm able to give that extra push. Come on, get in. Oh, you dick. It's a bit fiddly, but it will come together. There we go. Right, it's nice and tight. We start getting it in by hand. Anyway, right, that's the big one goes that side. Oh, it's a different size, isn't it, to that other one? Could have used that bar. Right, so I've got one big one there, one big one there. So that is going to be the different size needed now. Things are getting a bit serious. there, yeah. That fits there. And what I might do is use this bar that side. So as I'm tightening it, at the minute it won't turn, but it is going in, so we'll just see how we get on for a minute. Right, that wants to turn upwards, so I need to move the bricks over, put my wedge, which needs a bigger socket. Hopefully that one will do it, because I ain't got no other ones. It's only to kind of stop it. Look how nice and easy that's going in. I'll have to start standing. Actually, running out of space in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that. Now I can put that spacer on. Another one. Something catchy there, might be a bit of dust in the thread. Yeah, a bit of dust in that thread. How did that get there? Never mind. Right. I'm going to continue pushing this through and see if we've done the job. Bit of copper grease in there. Bit of lube. Oh, what a silly boy. No, that's fine. That'll do. No, it's not. I need to have... Yeah, that's right. Because that'll turn against the washers. I was just thinking about damaging the tool. It might damage the washers, the bearing on here, but that's not a big problem. Let's switch that. Getting a bit hard. It's going. I think it's just trying to centralise itself on the inside. I've got even pressure, so it should be alright. Could do with 2 of them extension bars. What I might do is get... I can't use the torque bar because I've only got 140 pounds of pressure on that, and I can push harder than that. So it just keep clicking and it won't go in. No rush. We can just take a minute and carry on. Right. And how are we doing for how are we doing for thread? Oh, we got a lot. We're still good. There we are. Carry on, James. Do you know what? It's quite annoying that you keep moving. I start needing to use my feet. Okay. That was because it had fallen off. Whoa. That was hard. I hope the other one don't go, because they say you're supposed to do these things in pairs. I don't want to do that again. I mean, at least I've got the tools and know what I'm doing now. Well, that was certainly an experience. So what I've got to do now is put some copper grease here, put the brake disc back on, get the caliper, put the caliper on, put the nuts in there. Once that's on, I will tighten up the lower support arm and the control arm, isn't it? So all good. Let's get the car back together. Let's take it for a little ride, see how quiet it sounds.